Welcome back. We're talking to Coach Harvey from Florida State University. Coach, you're entering your fifth year there at FSU. You've been up on the runner-up podium for the last two consecutive years, and it certainly looks like FSU has turned the corner in that in the national conscience, when people think about elite distance running programs, FSU is right there. You know, you've got some great trails in the Tally area and some great support in Tallahassee. What do you say to some of the runners that may be thinking about coming to FSU, but they still maybe have a little bit of a reservation?
Yeah, you know, when I'm recruiting, I'm very honest with our recruits and their families. I'm not the right coach for everybody. I am certainly not the right coach for everybody. And our training philosophy might not be right for everybody at the same time. So I definitely like to address that. And, you know, do we have their academic degree? Is it a strong degree here at Florida State? You know, is it far from home? Can you handle being far from home? So, you know, we run a very elite level program here. In fact, my husband is always kind of jazzing me saying, you know, these kids are not professional athletes. You know, he's always like, you know, you're really, you know, cutting the line there when you're asking to do this and that, and I do run an elite level program here, and it's not for everybody. It's really for the kid that just wants to explore their limits over the 4 years that they're here. And at the same time, I'm not a heavy mileage coach. I'm not into running massive miles on these girls. I've always said, and I always hope that I maintain treating them as athletes and not just runners, that, you know, we're in the weight room and, you know, we're doing lots of core and drills, just exploring them as athletes and not just runners. So, you know, and I'm an intense person. I mean, I've seen it said many times, and I totally agree. I can be a very intense person, but then there's times a lot of people don't see me acting like a child at times, and having fun with the team and just coming down to their level. So, you know, I'm just not for everybody out there. I'm not a super laid back person. You know, a lot of people have compared me to Coach Ken Harden, who is our sprint coach, and we just both really like to win. So that, you know, this isn't going to be the right choice for everybody. You know, I always read about us having foreigners on the team as well, and some people see that as a bad thing for some reason. I'm not sure why. But I think at Florida State we're always going to have a mix of some quote-unquote foreigners and USA kids. And, you know, I'm a foreigner, so if you don't like foreigners, maybe you don't like me either. So I'm from Canada, and you know, very blessed to have gone through the collegiate system myself. So, you know, I think those can always be a few reservations about our program at Florida State, and in particular me.
Well, you know, running at the NCAA level, Coach, it can be an overwhelming adjustment for somebody that's coming in either as a freshman or as a transfer student. And, you know, I've heard you and Coach Brayman talk about the process. It's all about the process. How do you think FSU sets up your student athletes to compete successfully and be successful at the NCAA level?
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously we need to manage them as student athletes. Their days are just jam-packed with tutoring and going to class and tests and just so much going on in their lives. And, you know, I really value their time at practice. That's one thing that our team will tell you, that I'm not late to practice. If I'm late to practice, something's wrong. I'm not going to be late to practice. I'm really going to push them when we get to the trails. Let's stretch, let's go, let's get back in the van and get you back to campus. You know, I'm very organized to the point of probably I'm pretty anal. I'm pretty organized, and I try to value their time so they can be a great student. They can get the grades they want, and at the same time get enough sleep. You know, and that's pretty difficult right there. We have an incredible academic support staff, trainers, that also aid us in making sure they're healthy and on the right track. So it is a process, and I rely heavily on my captains and my seniors to mentor and guide, whether it be a transfer from Britain or a young high school lady from Nebraska. I really heavily rely on them to get those kids under their wings and just guide them and encourage them and say things like, it's okay to be homesick. I felt it too.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And I've heard it mentioned several times that you're one of the coaches out there that is really able to find those diamonds in the rough. I think about it, Jennifer Dunn. Those type of runners that come in, that you're able to mold into successful athletes at the NCAA level. Do you consider that more an art, or is that more a science?
Oh, probably both. And it's when I'm recruiting, and when I was recruiting Jennifer Dunn, I knew she wasn't training at a very high level. When I was recruiting Aubrey Warden from Nebraska and Colleen Quigley, I knew how they were training. They were not doing 70, 80 miles a week. And unfortunately, it makes me very sad to learn that some high school girls are doing that kind of mileage right now. Very sad. It's disappointing. I like to work with a kid that's probably done 40 to 50 at most. And if they're running very well at a high school level, and they might not be number one, they might not even be in the top 10, but if they're running very well off of 40, 50 miles a week, wow, let me take a look at them, let me bring them in on a visit, and then let me, have my team and myself check in on their character and their goals, and, can they have fun when it's time to have fun? So, I have been very blessed in finding some diamonds in the rough, and being very honest with them about what our program is like, so they don't pick the wrong place either. We don't, need people butting heads. That's never fun for anybody. So, it's a process of looking at the recruit heavily and even their families. But yeah, we've been very blessed, and I've got 2 on the team right now, young freshmen, who are just impressing me left and right. Just everything they're doing here has been wonderful.
Outstanding. Hey, Coach, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back with a couple more questions for you.